I want winners. I want people that want to win.
You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
You got to put your money where your mouth is, Pete.
It's not gambling advice. It's the last day of the shortest month of the year, Monday, February 28th. Welcome to Not Gambling Advice. Today is going to be a sick episode. It's going to be a sick episode. We have Ben Bilotti, one of the hosts of our new college baseball podcast, The Boys of Spring. And of course, we have Colby Olson as well joining us. We got a lot to talk about today. We're doing the full college baseball betting preview, and I'm hyped. Ben, Colby, how you guys doing?
Dude, great, I'm amped to have Ben on here. I think it's a rare opportunity to go through the entire college baseball landscape. I don't think this is content that a lot of people are doing. And for anybody out there that, you know, even if you're not going to follow along the entire college baseball season, and you might just tune in at the College World Series, place a futures bet now, set it, forget it, check back in June, and there you go.
Yeah. Ben, how was the first episode of Boys of Spring? What'd you guys cover? Because I mean, I listened to it, but I'd rather you talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a short episode, but I think we covered a lot. The first week of college baseball we just recapped it. Mississippi State, we talk about Landon Sims a lot. I mean, that guy, he couldn't be more fun to watch. He's just electric. His major league stuff. We claimed him as the first, our first impression, he's the best pitcher in college baseball right now. And then just a little recap of the weekend series going on this time. And I want to bring it up now. What I talked about with Brian Miller, the other co-host, is, we're all really bummed about the MLB lockout, and it might get done today. We're really hoping it does. But if it doesn't, just puts a spotlight on college baseball. And there's really no more exciting thing than college baseball this time of year. It's like yeah, you have basketball going on in college basketball, but the college baseball, just the home runs, the pimp jobs, everything's electric. And it's great to have the attention go towards that.
It's so awesome. And just some of the college baseball, because I'm even getting more into it as well this year. And it's just the energy is just at another level that you're not going to find in the big league. So if you got your TV, turn it on, check out some college baseball, and also check out the Boys of Spring podcast, because they'll be talking about it all season long. But before we get into 5 teams that we think can win the College Baseball World Series in 2022, I want to give you guys a preview of last year, what happened, who were the teams that got in, and then I'm going to give you guys the top 5 according to D1 baseball, and then we'll get straight into it. So last year, NC State, Stanford, Arizona, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Virginia, Mississippi State, and Texas all shot it out at College Baseball World Series in Omaha, Nebraska. NC State beat up on Vanderbilt a little bit. Mississippi State ended up beating up on Texas and Ty Madden, and Mississippi State ended up winning the entire thing. They actually kind of crushed Vanderbilt. They won 24-10 over those 3-game spans. Also, just going to the guys who the all-tournament team. Remember Will Bednar, Jack Leiter last year were the pitchers for Mississippi State and Vandy. Logan Tanner, Luke Hancock was the catcher and the first baseman, both for Mississippi State as well. Tim Tawa is a really good second baseman last year for Stanford. Zach Geloff from Virginia was the third baseman, and Lane Forsythe and Tanner Allen. Brock Jones, Rowdy Jordan rounded out shortstop in the outfield, and then DH Ivan Melendez, who I think has the most donkey pomp out of anybody in college baseball right now. And currently the top 5, according to D1 baseball, is Texas number 1, Arkansas number 2, Ole Miss number 3, Oklahoma State number 4, and Vanderbilt number 5. Ben, when I read you that top 5, Texas, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Oklahoma State, Vanderbilt, what do you think? Do you think that's pretty accurate top 5? Do you think right now those are the 5 best teams in the country?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going off preseason and just the first week, I think D1 baseball and, Baseball America is pretty much the same too with those rankings. I think it's spot on. And I think right now the eye test proves it too. I mean, right now there's a little lower level of competition going on, not playing in conference play, but you can see that these lineups are just top tier. They mash. I mean, there's double digit scores in all these games, and most of these teams have only lost 1 or 2 games, some of them winning out. So I think it's pretty clear that they're at the top.
And Vanderbilt, they played Mississippi State, if I'm not mistaken, and they dropped 2 of 3, but they're still within the top 5. Do you think that's good? Do you think Vanderbilt is still one of those good teams? Because I do personally.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say Vanderbilt's not going to be a top team. I mean, their coaching staff is obviously the best in baseball. They develop college pitchers almost like no other school. They have that awesome pitching lab. I don't know if they're top 5. I think we'll have to wait to see a little more in the season. Right now, it's safe to put them there just because of the name recognition. You know, it is Vanderbilt. But right now, just based off how they played, I don't know if I put them in that top 5. It's really hard to put them there when they're lacking in pitching. You know, losing Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker, absolute huge blow. So they're just gonna have to prove they can do it on the pitching side, but their lineup it takes care, and their defense is top tier too.
Ben,
Colby, sorry, go ahead.
No, how much weight are you putting into these early season games? I mean, we're not even in March yet. A lot of these guys are playing even down in Texas or these southern states. It's still like 40 degrees at best. How much weight are you putting into these early games? And like, at what point in the season is it okay, kind of like time to that you're putting a lot of weight into what you're seeing on the field?
Yeah, I mean, early, it's still a good gauge, I think, especially with the bats. You know, if they're seeing pitches well, I think they're gonna go out there and continue to do so. Obviously, there's gonna be some flukes that just get lucky seeing lower level competition. But I think what you have to put the most weight into is the upsets, like East Carolina University losing to Bryant. Like, they were a top 25 team and they still are considered a top 25 team, but them getting swept by Bryant University, that's really surprising. Stuff like that shows you some holes in some of these schools like that. So I wouldn't put too much weight into it, but if the team's consistently playing well, I mean, you kind of have to. I mean, even with lower competition, baseball is baseball. Anyone can beat anyone in one game, you know?
And Ben, I know it's early. Of course it's early, but has there been a team that has shot up that you're kind of surprised is playing this well?
I mean, you mentioned them, and, you know, I didn't think they're going to be as good as they were, but NC State, I mean, they're just mashing. And, you know, Tommy White, I'm sure we'll talk about him. I know I'm going to talk about him later in a big piece of why I think they're contenders. But I knew they were going to be good, but I didn't think their lineup was going to be this good. And I didn't think they're going to be winning games the way they are, just because their pitching is not what it is, like, compared to other schools. It's not top tier, but it's still good. But they surprised me for sure.
And let's not forget that they got absolutely screwed last year by the COVID rules. Like, they were going to beat Vandy got the Mickey Mouse award for like getting into that College World Series final.
Absolutely.
Like, they deserved to play Mississippi State last year, and I wouldn't be surprised if that put a little extra fire into this season for them.
I'm just excited, man. This season is going to be awesome, and it's already off to a bang. So let's just start with NC State, because we're going to give you guys our 5 teams that we think can win the College Baseball World Series, and NC State is on my list. Colby, I think NC State's on yours. And
not
Ben,
on mine. Not
on yours.
It's on mine.
Ben, tell us why you think NC State can win the national championship.
Yeah, so I have them. They're my 4th team to win it out of the ACC. They're actually the only ACC team on my list. And, you know, I mentioned their pitching is not top tier, but it's still absolutely electric. I mean, they're still a top tier school. Their pitching last year was great in the College World Series. Sam Highfield, absolute stud in the College World Series last year. He shined, and in season, 84 Ks over 93 innings, which, you know, K per 9 could be a little bit higher, but he's going out there with a low 90s fastball and still getting those strikeout numbers, and he's limiting walks too. So he's the ace of the staff, and they also have 2 other guys that can really throw the ball really well. The only question mark for them, really, when you look into it, is their defense. They have a freshman catcher and a freshman shortstop, both true freshmen. And I think when you have a starting catcher that's a freshman, that's a little tough right there. So, you know, he's going to have to really rely on the pitchers that are veterans to help him out and learn the system, and all the coaches. Obviously, in college baseball, no catcher's really calling the game. I mean, we saw with Vanderbilt, they have their watches and everything. And that's pretty standard throughout everything. If it's not a watch, they're all calling pitches. But the defense and being that general on the field, that's my only question mark for their catcher, Jacob Mozart, his name is. But he can hit. So there's a reason he's the starting catcher. And then, I mean, Tommy White. I mean, do I have to say any more? Tommy White, Tommy Tanks, man, is what I think nine home runs now.
9 home runs in 8 games, hitting 588.
Yeah,
588, dude.
Yeah, it's not even like he's just hitting home runs. He just hits. He hits. And
do we know who's hit the most home runs in a college season? Like, what's that number? I don't know it off the top of my head.
I don't know it off the top of my head, but it can't be more than like 25, I want to say. I mean, most guys, even in double digits, most guys are like 15, 16, and they lead the college. So I don't know. But I mean, like we say in the group chat, Tommy White hates singles. He really doesn't, because he's hit over 500.
I know. And I have NC State as my 5th ranked team to win the College Baseball World Series, because I agree the pitching is a question, but it's Tommy White's world and we're just living in it. It's got, like you said, 9 home runs in 8 games, sitting .588. But the crazy thing is, I mean, it's not even the best batting average on his own team so far.
No, it's not.
Garrett is hitting .591, and they have 2 other guys hitting .400. That seems pretty decent to me. And they're pitching. I mean, their offense just packs such a punch, but the pitching is the question mark. I mean, only Kobe Ingle, he finished with an ERA under 3.6 last year. He was the only guy to do so. And David Harrison is probably one of their best pitchers so far, as Highfill is just kind of getting roughed up a little bit against competition that isn't that great. So I think if Highfill can bounce back a little bit and pitch to what we think he can, I think NC State has a real solid shot to win. I mean, Colby, to your point as well. I mean, last year we were in Omaha, Nebraska, and we had to watch this team get kicked out of the College World Series because of COVID, and they were going to beat Vanderbilt, and they would have gone up against Mississippi State, and that would have been a phenomenal series. But why do you think NC State isn't on your list?
Well, for exactly what you just said there, I believe that if you're going to win the College World Series, you need to have maybe not the best pitching in the country, but at least pitching that you can trust. And like this today on February 28th, I am not trusting NC State's pitching enough. And like, you know, a month or two from now, that might be a different story, because as the season goes on, people, you know, shine through. But yeah, that lineup can bang, and betting on a guy like Tommy White is not the worst bet in the world. So I did look it up. It was 48 home runs in a season is the most ever. Lance Berkman is third on that list, 41 in a season. If Tommy White's already at 9, he could have a shot at that. Like,
I think his pace is like, I think before his 9th, it was like 56 home runs. So he's on pace for a lot of home runs. You were saying, you asked me how much weight I put into it. One thing I don't put weight into is pitchers' ERAs right away. And college baseball, just in general too. Because, you know, I work for Ocean State Waves, the NACBL, and we never look at ERA unless it's like, you know, like in the 6s or 7s, just because it is college baseball. It's all about hitting and bunting and everything. Like, it's a lot more small ball, which leads to greater ERAs. But obviously it's not great to see a high ERA, but what you really want to look at, what I look at, is the Ks per 9 and batting average against. And that really paints a better picture in my mind.
Love that. And Colby, before we get into your first pick, give us some of those trends that we were talking about pre-record about the College Baseball World Series.
Yep. So runner-ups have gone on to win just once in the history of College World Series. So meaning if you finished runner-up last year, you're not going to go on to win this next year. Only Virginia did it. They came runner-up in 2014. Then in 2015, they won it all. But in the history of the College World Series, dating back to the 50s, it's only happened one time.
You already count out Vandy?
Want to eliminate,
you already count them out?
Which, even if you're not going to, go by that trend, I don't know if Vandy really, really does fit the mold as my favorite team to win the College World Series anyway. It doesn't seem like this is the strongest Vandy team that they've ever had. And I would love for Ben maybe to develop more on that take, because I don't think this is the best Vandy team we've ever seen.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, I mentioned it already. They lose Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker. I mean, Kumar Rocker doesn't even sign and he doesn't go back. That's a huge blow to them. And they did have Christian Little, I think his name. It's either Chris Little or Christian Little. And he was supposed to be in the weekend rotation. Yeah, I don't think he's even pitched yet.
Why though?
I don't know why either.
Great last year.
No, he did. What they're doing with their pitching is a little strange. The guys that have started have done well. Even in the opening series where they lost, they still had guys throwing out their quality starts, or my version of the college quality start, which is like 4 innings and less than 1 or 2 runs. But I mean, it's really the pitching that doesn't have them, and they do have a good lineup, but it's just not what it is. I mean, Dom Keegan's a great player for them. He's their catcher, but it's like his first year starting as catcher. He's been DH and first base the past 2 seasons, I believe. And then Carter Young, he's their star, but
do you believe in his bat?
I don't believe in his bat, but I believe their duo up the middle is great. Yeah. Their defense is probably the best in all of college baseball, in my opinion. And I think that's pretty much true for all Vandy teams ever.
And at plus 1,000, they have the second best odds to win the national championship. like NC State's at plus 1,500. I think NC State's just a better overall team than Vanderbilt is.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I would prefer them, but also there was a freshman that I was watching a couple days ago, maybe it was a week ago now, Devin Futrell. He's this lefty and he doesn't throw that hard, but he was extremely surgical. That's how I like to describe him. He was surgical on the mound. He seemed like he had a couple plus pitches. He just was really impressive. And as a freshman midweek guy, I think that's somebody to watch in that Vanderbilt rotation. But I agree. Vanderbilt is not in my top 5. Colby, I assume Vanderbilt's not in yours either?
Not in my top 5. But yeah, there's a few more trends to go through here. So back-to-back championships have not happened in the last 15 years. So I'm also writing off Mississippi State as well. And I think their odds are just, what are they, like the 4th or 5th highest odds right now to win?
Yeah, right now they're tied with Notre Dame at plus 1,200, right behind Arkansas, Vandy, and Texas.
So there's that. And then beyond that, only one team in the last 10 or 2 teams, I guess, 2 teams in the last 10 years have been outside of the top 10 and gone on to win preseason top 10 and gone on to win the College World Series. That was Coastal Carolina back in 2015 and South Carolina back in 2011. But outside of that, all of the teams that have gone on to win the College World Series have been inside the top 10 and honestly inside the top 5.
Wow.
So that's something to consider. That leaves, if you go by that leaves us with Florida, NC State, LSU, Stanford, Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Texas, eliminating Mississippi State and Vandy because of the trends as well. So that leaves us with 8 teams.
8 teams, huh? Only 8 teams can win it. But those teams you named are all pretty good. So who is your first pick of the 5 that you think can win the College Baseball World Series?
I don't know if I really have a favorite out of these. I think
maybe not your first pick. I would say actually we're kind of going in order here because Ben, NC State on your rankings, they're 5 on mine. Are they
fourth on mine? Fourth on mine.
Colby, who did you rank 5th? Maybe you don't know. Actually, you probably maybe won't bet on it. It's a good pick, but it's not your go-to future.
My favorite value pick right now is Florida State, who's currently, or they were preseason number 11. They're plus 3,000. They have probably, Ben, you can probably shine more light on this than I can, but they have a lot of returning players. Alex Terrell, transfer from Miami, can hit. They have a decent enough lineup, and their pitching is probably top 10 in the country, maybe higher than that. And to me, pitching wins championships. If you're going to give me plus 3,000 odds on Florida State, I'm taking that all day of the week. That's probably my favorite play. I don't know if it's the most likely play, but I think it's a great play at plus 3,000.
It's a good value pick for sure. I think you hit the nail on the head there. They're pitching. I mean, you see those guys on Pitching Ninja all the time, and it really is pitching that wins the championships. I mean, even with Vandy's deep runs, it was their pitching that carried them there. They were never getting teams out. So I think that's a really good value pick. Honestly, I don't know too much about Florida State. I'm more of a Gators fan myself when it comes to the Florida teams, but I do know that they're a good team, and I mean, they definitely have a chance to win the College World Series. Plus 3,000 seems way too low for them.
And so Colby, that's your favorite one? I asked you for your least favorite one. Come on.
Well, I think it's not necessarily like the favorite is what I mean, right?
True.
They're the lowest odds I'm taking. Plus 3,000 is the lowest of teams that I'm taking there. But I think the value is there for them to be. I already bet this. I already bet this one. I put some money on it. Plus 3,000. Are you kidding me?
I love it. So Ben, next up, who you got?
Let's see. So you don't want my number. We don't want my favorite pick. My number 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Give me your 5th. Give me your 5th, and then we'll work all the way up to our favorite picks.
Okay. So my 5th, once again, lowest value. I have Tennessee at plus 2,000, and not as low as plus 3,000, but I think it's too low for them. I think they should be higher than Vanderbilt for sure. I absolutely love Tennessee's team. Just looking at them, they have veterans. That's the first thing that stands out to me. And their starting lineup, they have 3 players that have been and played on the team for 4 years, including a 5th year and a 6-year player. And in college baseball, it's all about roster depth and all about experience, especially when you're going into these tournaments. Their 6th year is Luke Lupicus. He's first base. He hit 15 home runs last year. And then their 5th year is their catcher, and he's basically Evan Russell. 14 home runs last year. He mashes and he gets on base, and he's that great leader, especially being a 5th year. He knows the program. He's not a transfer. He's in there. He's going to be calling the shots. It's going to be great. And then, of course, how do I not talk about Blake Tidwell. I mean, guy hits 104, right? I mean, their pitching is just insane too. In the mock draft, I want to shout out Ryan Miller's mock draft. He's going 18th overall in the first round. Beautiful short arm action. It's impossible for hitters to pick him up. This team pretty much has everything. They do need more consistency in starting pitching, but their bullpen and Tidwell will lead them pretty well. And if guys can pick it up and follow Tidwell's lead, they're going to be just fine.
How is Tennessee doing this? How are they producing guys who just throw absolute cheese? I mean, Garrett Crochet is another. Like they just churn out these dudes like it's nothing. What are they eating? What are they doing?
They've been an early adopter of like all things that have been going on. They've been coming out of Driveline, and like I know a lot of college teams have been early adopters there, but they've been one that's been especially, adoptive of the advanced technology and tracking technology, Rapsodo, all that stuff, and like that has an impact. After using that stuff for 10 years, that's got to have an impact.
Yeah, you see all these younger guys coming in the summer leagues, and they all have their weighted balls. And if they're not having weighted balls, they're always doing, different band work, which is pretty standard. But I mean, you should see some of the stuff these guys do with what they roll out with, like 10 different balls in their bag. It's crazy. They're all in different programs, and it's all to get velo.
And my fourth favorite pick, Oregon State at plus 3,000. Their offense is freaking insane. They had 8 guys hit over 300 last year, and Garrett Forster hit 299. So basically they had 9 dudes hit over 300. But this year, it's the Jacob Melton show. I mean, Tommy White has taken the league by storm, obviously, but Melton might be the second hottest hitter in the country. The man hit 404 last year, and this year he's hitting 536 with a 1.497 OPS. He's got 2 bombs, 2 doubles, and 2 triples in 7 games. Melton is the truth. Also, they got Meckler and so, excuse me, Greg Fuchs. Is that how you Fuchs? Is his last name Fuchs?
I hope not.
Well, I've heard that one, Fuchs. Yeah,
it's got to be Fuchs.
It doesn't matter because him and Meckler are both hitting over 400, and they've had some solid pitching so far. But I just think this offense is incredible. And Oregon State at plus 3,000. I love those odds.
That's my.
They walk a lot.
Yeah, they walk a lot.
That's mine as well.
Yeah, talk to me. What did I miss for Oregon State?
I think the only thing you really miss there is that they've been there before. This is a super well-coached team, and looking back at that 2018 roster is insanity. Nick Madrigal, Adley, Stephen Kwan, and Trevor Larnach is just to name a few, and insane pitching staff. But like I said, they've been there before. They're well-coached. They're going to be prepped. And again, they're an advanced team. They're going to be using all these advanced approaches, and they can go up against anybody. So yeah, they're my 4th team.
Ben, does Oregon State make your list? And if they don't, why not?
They don't, honestly, just because I like other teams better, but they're absolutely,
okay.
they're on my honorable mentions for sure. That I have them written down. They definitely could do it. I mean, I'm looking at their pitching right now, and I've seen it before. Cooper Hirschpe, I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah.
HJERPE. I mean, 17 strikeouts in 11 innings. This dude's a strikeout machine. Their pitching is just consistent, and their lineup, like you're saying, talk about absolutely matches. They walk. I think they do everything right. They're absolutely a contender in my eyes. Yeah. I just didn't put them on my list because I like to talk about other teams more.
Yeah, he's made clear adjustments because, I mean, he's only allowed 1 run so far in 11 innings,
yeah.
But you're right, striking out 17. And I know ERA doesn't matter that much, but at 4.21 ERA is not too bad. But I think he's going to be even better this year. I could see an ERA in the 3s just because I think he's a solid arm.
Yeah, he's only walked 5 guys so far and only given up 1 run. He's been nails.
So give us your next team.
All right. So I talked about NC State, number 4 in Tennessee. I'll go with my number 3 team, Ole Miss, another team out of the SEC. Love Ole Miss. I mean, I feel like Ole Miss has been the team that's been blowing up everyone's Twitter feed over the past couple of years with college baseball. You see the dynamic duo up the middle with the high five after every game. They're absolutely electric. Their fans go out there. They also have the potential for the best lineup in college baseball. Not many people talk about them or that, but just look at what they've done so far. They absolutely mash.
It's going to be a lot of beer showers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Justin Gonzalez, I think he could be the best player overall in college baseball. He has power from the left side. The ball just flies off his bat, and he's a premium defender. Their pitching, Well, for some Wes Burton, something's going on with him. He's not playing right now. I've seen it might be something with mental health issues or something, but I mean, we saw him last year. I think he's bound to pitch again. He didn't start that much last year, but I think if he comes back and plays, he's going to start for them. I think we also talked about, he's a Codify guy now too, right? One of the only guys in college baseball with Codify. So he's probably spreading some philosophy around with their pitching. One of their pitchers I absolutely love is a fifth-year transfer, John Gaddis. He started already a couple games and was just shut down. Not going to overpower you with anything, but big loopy curveball, gets a lot of guys out. And then Derek Diamond's returning. He's also solid. I didn't have too high hopes coming in with him, but after seeing him pitch, he proved to me that he can be their number one and the weekend guy. I mean, they're just a fun team to watch. They absolutely mash. They do everything right, in my opinion.
They're preseason number 5 plus 2,200. My only question for them is they've made the College World Series just once in the 2000s, and they've lost in the Super Regional in 2019 and 2021. Is there a question for them to make that final step going from the regional to the Super Regional and finally the College World Series? Because they've kind of choked.
Yeah, it's got to be their pitching. I think it all determines on how their pitching does and how deep they are, because they're one of the teams that go into the philosophy of, the guys that used to be relievers are going to be our starters now. And I think that works pretty well for most teams. I think it just comes down to if those guys can actually do it. But I mean, you look at what they've done so far. They're 6-0. They started off with a series against Charleston Southern, not the same division, but I think they are in the SEC. Yeah, they are. But they're a great team. They're a great pitching team, and they just shut them down. Then Arkansas State and VCU, they've hit double-digit numbers in every game except their first one where they won 9-3. I mean, their lineup matches. It's just going to all come down to if their pitching can stay true.
And Colby, what about you? Well, who's your third favorite team to win it all?
So my third is LSU. They're plus 1,200 right now, preseason number 8. They probably have maybe the most top-loaded talent in the country right now. Dylan Cruz, Jacob Berry, who am I missing here? Trey Morgan at first base. Like, they have some mashers. And that's just the start. Like, Dylan Cruz might be, I read something before I came on this podcast that said that he might be the best talent we've seen in college since Adley Rutschman, and probably even better than Adley Rutschman.
Wow. It's crazy.
He's hitting exit velos above 110, and nobody else is doing that in the college game right now. And I get it. They're metal bats, but these metal bats are not the metal bats that we used to use back in the 2000s, the BESR. These things are dead now. I think the question for LSU, like NC State, is can their pitching get it done? But I think it's hard not to bet on that like top-loaded MLB talent, because the trends show it. A lot of the teams that win the College World Series have a lot of MLB talent. LSU has a lot of MLB talent.
LSU didn't make my list, but I think I got to bet on him because Aram also called him the best offense in college baseball. He said, and at those odds, give me the odds again, Cole, because
plus 1,200. So they're
1,200.
They're a pretty big favorite here.
They
still can make you a pretty penny though.
Yeah, plus 1,200, and you have the best offense. What about on the pitching side?
I think Ben, do you know more about LSU's pitching? I'm not going to pretend.
I know. I'll let you know this. I'll let you know this. They don't have too many guys. Okay. They have last year they had 2 guys in the rotation that finished with an ERA over 5. Again, it's really just how they set up their pitching. I mean, you look at D1 baseball, and I think their breakdown of it is exactly what we've been saying. Their hitting and power is some of the best in the country, and the starting pitcher is a 50 grade, and I think that's perfect. It's just all about how they set it up. They don't. A lot of their guys are transitioning from bullpen or guys that didn't pitch on the weekend. They're now all in the weekend rotation, and it's just a matter of health and inexperience in their pitching. That's really all it is.
So if they go into June and they have injuries, they might be screwed.
Yeah, they're a team that doesn't have much pitching depth, but their lineup might be able to carry them through that. I mean, everyone last year mashed too, and they've continued to do it early here too.
So my third pick is Oklahoma State at plus 2,000. I mean, Justin Campbell is kind of the truth. He's this big 6'7" right-hander who was one of the 5 finalists last year for the John Olerud 2-way Player of the Year award. He pitched against Vandy back on February 18th, and he allowed a couple of runs, but he struck out 8 and looked really good. Just, a couple blue pits here and there. But Jake Thompson, who's grad transfer, is on an absolute tear for them. He went for 6 for 10 with 2 doubles against Vanderbilt's pitching. And Griffin Duersching also has incredible donkey pop. He has 6 extra base hits in 4 games. I think Oklahoma State has a great shot at winning it at plus 2,000. I love that value. The 2 teams I think are my 2 favorite teams in college baseball right now, but I think Oklahoma State at plus 2,000. That's probably my favorite value bet out of all of them won so far.
Yeah. Peter, that's my number 1.
Yeah. Talk to me then.
Everything you said, I think talent wise, they could be a top 3 talented team in the country. And you mix that with plus 2,000 value. I don't know how you don't take it.
They're just so well-rounded, aren't they, Ben?
They really are well-rounded. I think it is. They just struggled last year down the stretch. Their pitching struggled a little bit too. I mean, the guy their starter now they're relying on is their weekend guy. He had an ERA over 6. I know we've been saying how much you don't put weight into ERA, but when he is your weekend starter, you want him to have a little bit lower. They're not on my list. They are in my honorable mentions. I just think that everything can either click for them or not. I mean, we saw it last year. They just kind of broke down against Arkansas. I mean, it's just, I don't know if they have the consistency to do it, but I mean, when you look at the roster and look what they've done, they're absolutely a monster of a team.
I also think this team is better than last year's team.
Definitely.
Yeah. So at least, hopefully they can make it through and not, crash and burn like they did last year again.
Ben, real quick before we get into another pick, how would you rate all of the conferences? So ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12. Like, how would you rate those 1 to 5 in terms of competition level?
For me, it's always a toss-up between the Big 12 and SEC for me. But I'll put it this way. 3 out of the 5 teams in my list are from the SEC. So I guess I'd put them 1. And then Big 12 is probably 2 for me. And then I think all the other conferences are pretty much a toss-up. They're an equal level playing field. The ACC is a little weaker. Boston College is either absolutely great or a huge disappointment. Like last year, they had a season to remember, and I think
they're on track. Everyone from that team.
They did lose everyone, but they still have a lot of key players. The guy that played on the Waves last year, Travis Honeyman, he didn't start at all his freshman year. He's a sophomore now. He's hitting leadoff for them. He's already hit a couple bombs. He'll steal a base a game, maybe more. He won the MVP and batting title in the NECBL, the Summer League. They also have another guy, Luke Gold, I think, or maybe, Luke Gold, third baseman, and they could do it. But I mean, I think the ACC is up there. It's just teams like Boston College in that don't make me as confident in them. But the top 2 are obviously SEC and Big 12, and I think it's SEC 1, Big 12 2.
Awesome. Fair enough.
So final 2 picks, and then I also have a big dark horse team that I want to throw at both of you. So Ben, your second favorite team to win the national championship.
All right. That's got to be Arkansas for me. I absolutely love Arkansas. I almost, it was a toss up between them and my first team for number 1. I think they have just a great shot of doing it. Only plus 1,000 odds. So heavy favorites. But I mean, they're a better plus 1,000 team than Vandy is.
Literally.
So absolutely. If they do have holes, it's in the pitching. Losing Kevin Kopps was huge for them. I mean, what he did in the College World Series for them last year was absolutely insane. He had starter innings the whole entire season out of the pen, which led to the downfall of his arm. But he gave his arm to Arkansas. So, and they did lose their ace too, Patrick Wicklander, but their defense is absolutely incredible. I'll use another quote from Boys of Spring and mock draft expert Ryan Miller when we talk about their second baseman, Robert Moore. His defense is where Moore shines with strong instincts, quickness, and advanced actions up the middle. I mean, that's exactly what you want from a guy up the middle. Jalen Battles is their shortstop, and he's swaggy. So is Moore. They both have pop. They might be the swaggiest duo, middle infield duo in all of the NCAA. And a guy that stands out to me is the third baseman, Kaden Wallace. Absolutely huge power potential. He hit 14 home runs last year. And if you go look up a video of this guy, Kaden Wallace, his swing is the ultimate launch angle swing, but yet he still has a great batting average. It's just if he connects. 438. Yeah. He had 438, but you look at his swing. I mean, if you don't break it down in slow-mo, it's essentially an uppercut. I mean, he just absolutely launches the ball. I love their lineup. I love their philosophy. They bring in guys, transfers, and just keep guys around. Everyone buys in. And I just think buying in, you see it in summer ball, you see it in college basketball. You need to buy in. And this team is a team that 100% everyone buys in.
I fucking love Arkansas. They're my number 2. I mean, how can you not?
They're my number 2.
And imagine if they had Paulette too.
Oh my God.
I mean, they lost him to Tommy John surgery. Like, I think they're better than Texas if they had Paulette.
If they're 100% healthy, absolutely.
And their head coach, Dave Van Horn, he has just been on an absolute tear. From 2009 to 2019, the Razorbacks have finished with 40+ wins, 9 seasons. And in 2013, they won 39 games. So basically 10 seasons. They're consistently one of the best teams in college baseball, and their roster can rival any team in college baseball. You mentioned it, but Kaden Wallace, Robert Moore, and Brady Stevens were great last year, and they just continue to destroy baseballs this year. Wallace, like we said, is hitting 438. He's got 4 extra base hits in 4 games already. But on the mound, Connor Noland has had some early success, and he's also has a great mustache. This is a scary, scary team if he's on as well, because I don't think Ben, and correct me if I'm wrong, he wasn't the guy to be the best pitcher this year, but he's had the best start out of any pitcher on their team so far, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I really think they were looking just to hope. They might have been hoping that he was the guy, because I think losing Cops and Wicklund was probably, they were clueless without them. I don't think they knew who the guy was going to be. So having someone step in like that, have the mustache, the look, it's exactly what they need.
Colby, what did we miss about Arkansas?
I'm not even, you guys just went on for like 5 or 7 minutes about Arkansas. I don't think if you missed anything, then I don't know what you could have missed. But yeah, Arkansas was my last team. They were my number 2, but the last one that hasn't been covered yet. Mm-hmm. I do have one question before we get into, I'm assuming Texas. Stanford did not make any of our list. They're a preseason number 6, and they're like firmly right there in the middle of that top 10. I'm just want to ask Ben, what's the deal with Stanford missing here? What's their story?
I mean, I don't know. I absolutely love Stanford. They mash. They're all over Twitter. I don't know why they're not on my list. I just had to get Arkansas in there. Obviously, no one's taking them over, but I think they can do it. I mean, I don't see. It's just they're not like the name team. I guess that's. They haven't been there and done that in a while. So that for me is why they're not on there. But I mean, you look at the roster top to bottom, I think there's everything they do well. It's just the inexperience they have personally, but
they have MLB talent.
They do have MLB talent. Absolutely.
So now I think it's just time to talk about the freaking University of Texas. At plus 750. This is all of our favorites. Yeah. I'm assuming to win it all. And, they have the worst odds to do so for a good reason. At plus 750. Pete Hansen might be one of my favorite college baseball pitchers in college baseball. He's a 6'2" lefty that just shoves. He has 16 strikeouts in 11 innings over 2 starts, both wins, and hasn't allowed a run yet. He had a 1.88 ERA last year. And I know that's, in college baseball, these ERAs inflated. He had a 1.88. Yeah, and I bet he could finish this year with a better ERA. And they also have Tanner Witt, who's a freshman All-American last year, who finished with a 3.16 ERA. And then I just freaking love Ivan Melendez. He has donkey pop. He's rocking an OPS over 1,000, and he hasn't even really gotten going yet. I mean, he's still just hitting 261, but he's leading the team in RBIs, and he has an OBP over 500. I just think he's going to get better too. And then Tristan Stevens is another really, really good arm. He's thrown 12 innings so far without allowing a run. Texas is the best team in the country. They're number 1 ranked. And I do think, even though they lost Ty Madden, I still think that Texas is the best team in the country and should win the national championship.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really say it better than that. I don't see how they lose. I want to point out the fact
that confident.
I think it's them or Arkansas. Like
it's got to be them and Arkansas. I mean, you never know once it comes to tournament time, just because every tournament's different. But they made the Final Four last year in 2021, and the thing that stuck out to me was 7 out of their 18 guys on their active roster were listed on the preseason All Big 12 team. That's basically their entire starting lineup. They have three pitchers on there. Their starting catchers and middle infield duo, and then Ivan Melendez. I mean, absolute.
Ivan Melendez is a stud.
He's such a stud.
And then I actually do not have them on my list. I think plus 750. So hear me out.
True value.
Plus 750 is extremely high. Losing Ty Madden to me is a huge kicker. Finally, only one team in the last 10 years ranked preseason number 1 has gone on to win the College World Series. That was 2019 Vandy, Austin Martin, Kumar Rocker, Jack Leiter, just to name a few. Ty Madden would have been the kicker for me. That would have said, okay, lock. But without him, I don't know if they can go all the way.
Dude, but Pete Hansen is good.
For me, it is so good. Pete Hansen's such a good pitcher. Tristan Stevens, he was one of the guys on the preseason All Big 12 team. Not a big K guy, but the dude doesn't walk anyone, and his fastball gets up to 97 with MLB level stuff with his off-speed pitches. He's going to click and start striking guys out. And then something that sticks out to me, another thing that sticks out, Eric Kennedy, 18 stolen bases last season, and he gets on base. They steal bases. Their pitching is consistent, and their lineup matches. I mean, if they can stay healthy, and they just have to stay on course. If they get into the losing streak, then Arkansas is going to take over. Another team's going to take over. But for me, I just don't see how they're not it. The only reason I wouldn't bet them is because of that plus 750.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I'm still betting them at plus 750. I don't care. I think they're the best team in college baseball. And I think Arkansas is right up there with them. But like, this is the best team. And I'm willing to do it. Plus 750. Give me that. I'm betting on it. Colby, you're not. But do you think Texas is the best team in college baseball?
You asking me, Pete?
Yeah.
I still think they're the best team in college baseball, but I'm not going to say that the gap between them and Arkansas is like that much where I'm taking Texas plus 750 versus Arkansas at plus 1100, right? So to me, Arkansas is the play there at plus 1100. It's so early in the season anyway that like anything can happen. That's why I just think plus 750 is pretty crazy odds.
March 5th, right? March 5th, they've started tournament. They go Tennessee, LSU, UCLA.
That'll be
if they clean house there March 4th to March 6th, then they have me sold.
Yeah, because if they're beating those teams, we may not even get 750 anymore. Could go down to plus 500 or something like that. True. That's the thing. That's true. And more than likely, they're probably going to beat those teams because they're freaking better than them anyway. So I'm grabbing it at 750. I think it's going to drop, and I think Texas is going to win the freaking championship. That's what I think, or Arkansas. So I'm betting on both of those two guys.
So Peter, are you putting? Is this just a unit bet, or is this going to be a 2-unit for you?
I never put more than a full unit on a futures bet. So those two got units, but I also threw a half unit on my dark horse, Long Beach State, at plus 7,000. So Jack Noble pitched really well against Mississippi State, and Luis Rodriguez is the freaking truth. They've combined for 22 innings, struck out 22, and have not allowed a run. If the pitching can stay hot, they have a shot. I mean, starting pitching wins championships, and this team's got it. But the offense is the question. They only got 4 dudes hitting over 300. But Jonathan Long, another dude with donkey pop. And I'm not sure that they can actually win it. But they did take 2 of 3 from Mississippi State, and they beat Landon Sims. Like, they have real potential. I saw plus 7,000 for the 12th ranked team in the country. I thought to myself, I have to do that just out of principle. Just as a betting person, I just have to. That's too good of odds. Right.
Luis Rodriguez was on fire last year. On fire.
Major league
he
pitcher.
showed stuff. He showed MLB stuff. That slider is filthy. Like, if you have one guy like that, he can carry you a long way.
Kind of like what Bednar did with Mississippi State last year a little bit. I mean, obviously they had Landon Sims in the bullpen, but Bednar, I fell in love with Bednar, and I'm kind of falling in love with Luis Rodriguez now. Yeah,
that's honestly not a bad pick. I don't think they have a chance personally. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know. Their
Their
strength of schedule is insanely easy compared to every other team, though. I mean, they have North Dakota State, Nebraska, UConn. UConn's going to be tough for them, and then they go to Hawaii for like 2 weeks. I mean, they could clean house in the regular season for sure and keep on going, especially with the confidence of taking 2 out of 3 from Mississippi State. That was impressive. But their loss was bad, though. I mean, they went 13-3 and then just went down and lost 12-4 against them. So it could have just been, there were little squeaks in Mississippi State. Didn't have the oil can ready to go yet.
Do you guys have any dark horses? Maybe plus 7,000, plus 8,000? Any other teams that you're looking at who you think might have a shot? Colby, I'll throw that to you first.
For me, after the trends that I just went through, no team ranked lower than 28 preseason, which was 2010. South Carolina in the last 11 years has gone on to win the College World Series. So to me, none of the long shots really seem that appealing to me. I'm just going to stick with the top 10 players, top 10 teams. That is.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. What about you, Ben?
I wouldn't bet on any of my dark horse teams, but if I had to pick someone, I kind of really like Duke just because I love their pitching. I don't have too much to go on it, but plus 550 for them or 5,500.
Hey, they're a top 25 team. They can do
top
it.
20. Yeah. They're a top 25 team with some good odds. Them or Georgia Tech at plus 4,000.
Aram also mentioned to me that he really likes Duke as well. So that might be a better dark horse candidate, Long Beach State. But Long Beach State plus 7,000 after what I saw against Mississippi State, I was like, I kind of have to do it.
Eye test doesn't lie. The eye test doesn't lie.
Yeah, the eye test doesn't lie. So that'll do it for this episode of Not Gambling Advice. Make sure to check out, we're going to write a betting preview for the College Baseball World Series that will be up hopefully by the beginning of next week. With all of our picks, you can read it out on justbaseball.com. Get your Just Baseball merch in our episode description. I'm wearing my Not Gambling Advice tee, looking like a freaking beast, aren't I, boys? Look at that.
Yes, you are. The biceps are popping, Pete.
Thank you, Ben. Definitely go check out the Boys of Spring Pod with Ben Bilotti, Ryan Miller, and Pete Flaherty. They're covering college baseball for Just Baseball Media this entire year. Colby, did I miss anything before we go?
Definitely want to give Ben a little, you have the floor for 30 seconds. Just give us a little pitch on what to expect with spring in the future and what we have to look forward to.
All right. Yeah. I mean, if you love college baseball, you're going to love Boys of Spring. We'll be recapping guys, giving us standout players, just everything college baseball. It's energy. We're going to bring the energy as we go on. Just follow us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube. Everyone subscribe to the YouTube. Just baseball fans.
Subscribe to the YouTube. What's your Twitter?
Just simple. Ben Bilotti. It'll be right below right here. I'm going to point to it because I'm going to put it in.
Love that. And with that, thank you, everybody.